Okay, so section 2.5 in your notes, this is what we are starting with today. We talked about how problem solving connects to our boxes yesterday and how everything was just one giant word problem that we're going with. So I want to give you these 5 hints that are going to help you solve. So you're just writing these straight into your notebook. The first hint is to read and reread the problem. Okay, think about how many times you read through the script from the video and how you had to look for the trash can and backwards and look for those numbers and how you had to use those clues not only on the papers that I gave you, but once you found new papers in the box. So this also connects to, I'm sure in English you've been given a highlighter, you know how to highlight the key things, so read and reread. You can't just go through it once and think you know everything about the problem. Okay? The second step is to find out what the problem is asking for. Okay? They may ask you for an expression, they might ask you for an equation, they might ask you for a dollar amount, all right? Or an amount of time it took someone to do something, or amount of money it would cost to get something. So you have to figure out what that problem is asking you for. You had to figure out when you were doing the letter lock that you probably weren't going to use clues that had numbers in them, right? So actually figure it out. If the problem says write an expression, are you going to include an equal sign? No. You're going to wait for them to ask for an equation, okay? So make sure you actually know what the problem is asking you to solve. The third thing is to look for a pattern. Okay, algebra is all about patterns. See if you can find something that will work each time. I'll be honest with you, that one's not really my favorite. I feel like that's the hardest out of the 5 steps. Okay. The fourth one is to use a strategy. Strategy. Okay, I can spell. This is where you have tons of options. Now, obviously you are in algebra class, so my first hope is that you want to write an equation. Okay, like I said, you can solve these without using an equation, but that's what we want to get towards because it's usually the fastest method. You could also model the problem. You could work backwards. You can guess and check. You have lots of options. Okay, I'm hoping that we stick with this one, but the other options are there for you. Okay, and the last one is to check your answer. Make sure it makes sense. So for example, in the homework problem last night, do you think it was going to cost you like $8 million to order that brick patio? No, if you're getting something that outrageous, you might want to go back and check. Or if you are trying to find the length of a board when you are building something, are you going to get a negative answer for that? No, I can't have a negative board length. That doesn't make sense. If I have people, okay, does it really make sense to have decimals when I'm talking about people? Okay, short people are still whole people. All right? Think about your answer and make sure that it makes sense in the context of the problem. Everybody got that? Okay, so one other thing to add is make sure you include a label in your answers. Okay? Going back to the brick problem from the homework. So it was, I don't know, 500. Well, 500 what? Dollars, pesos, euros, pebbles? Okay? Have to give me something that makes sense because these are going to be real world application problems, so they actually have a context in the problem. They will actually have answers that make sense. All right? So let's try an example. So we have a plumber, and that plumber charges a base rate of $30 per visit. So that means if he shows up at your door, he charges you $30, even if he didn't do a thing. And then every hour he's there after he shows up, he's going to charge you $34. Okay? So what do we know right now? What can you tell me? I'm actually asking. 8th period will have, you guys are movie stars right now. 8th period. 2nd period is helping you out right now with your work. Listen to them. Gabe. Okay, so we could set up an equation. So the first thing we need is for sure an equal sign if we're going to set up an equation. What will go into our equation? Ava. So I know that per visit it is $30. Does that mean that he gets $30 per hour? No, you said per visit. So how many visits is he making to my house? Do I need to multiply 30 by anything? No. Tyler, what would I do next?
You would add 30 to how many times H is multiplied by 34.
Okay, so how many times H is multiplied by 34? So what does 34H stand for? How much you pay him per hour. So $34 times every hour that he's there, plus $30 just for showing up. And how much is all of that going to cost me? $166. So I could also write it like, there's plenty of ways I could write this and they all mean the same thing. 34H plus 30 equals 166. Both of those are the same. Okay? If you were just to reason through this, what I would say is, okay, it costs $166. Let's take off the 30 that he charged just for showing up. So $136 left, and I'm going to divide that. Subtracted that. I'm going to divide that by the cost per hour. Well, look what I'm doing when I solve. The first thing I'm going to do in solving my problem is subtract 30 from 166. And then I'm going to divide, forgot my H. Divide that by 34. Okay, so even over here, if you were just kind of guessing and checking or kind of just going through it in your head, you really are still doing what you would do if you set up an equation. You're just looking at it a little bit differently. Okay, one thing I forgot to add, you guys did pick up the examples, so you definitely don't need to write the example down. That's why I gave those to you. I would just tape that into your notes, and then you can have just write examples 1, 2, and 3 later on. Okay, so I have 34 hours, or 34 times the number of hours is going to cost me $136. So when I finish solving my problem, what does H equal? All right? 4. And don't forget to include the label. What did the H stand for? 4 hours is how long the plumber was at my house. Okay? Did you have to choose H as your variable? No, it makes sense. H, you're looking for the number of hours, but you can use whatever variable you want when you're solving. Okay? Questions on number 1? All right, let's try number 2. Ruth is jogging. Oh, not only is she not using proper English, but she's really having a good time. So she's jogging at a steady pace of 6.2 miles per hour, and she jogs for a total of T hours. So, think about those clues. In part A, they want me to write an expression. Am I going to include an equal sign? No, because that would be an equation. So how can I express the distance that Ruth traveled if she's going 6.2 miles per hour and jogging for T hours? What would that expression look like? Emily? So 6.2 times T, or 6.2 T. The miles per hour times the hours she went. So, in part B, they're now giving me a time in hours. So, how far will she go? Now we're going to take substitution. The substitution property is allowing us to say that T equals 2.3. So to find out how far she went, I'm going to put T 2.3 in for t in my expression. So 6.2 times 2.3, Ruth went 14.26 miles. Bless you. I wonder if they heard the sneeze on the video, or else it just sounds like I said bless you randomly. It'll be interesting. Okay, so now they are asking me to write an equation. So now she's gone 20 miles, that's her total, in t hours at 6.2 miles per hour. So I'm going to take the expression I already set up, and I'm going to set that equal to the total miles that she has ran. Sorry, jogged. What inverse operation am I going to use in part D to solve that equation? Oh, period 8 is going to make fun of you if you don't know the inverse operation. Come on, why did it take so long to answer this one-step problem? Lindsay. Division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6.2. So t equals 3.23. Don't forget your label. Okay, so this is the part where I would like you guys to try example 3. If you are watching this video, I want you to pause the video, solve example 3 in your notes, and then finish the video to see the answer. I'm going to say the same thing to you guys in class. I'm going to pause my recording. You guys are going to figure this one out, and then we'll talk about it. Go. Okay, so make sure you paused. Make sure you pause here, or you already paused. Here are the answers to your problems. Remember that part A, I'm not going. Let me unfreeze that. Here you go. There are the answers to your questions. Part A is an expression. So make sure that you are writing that as an expression. This is saying 92% of all of the questions would get you that A. If that is your expression and there are 60, if you have to get 69 questions correctly, well, 92% of how many questions equals 69? So when you solve that equation, there had to be 75 questions on the test. Don't forget that label. Yes, ma'am. So could you just do 69 divided by 0.92 right off the bat? Yes, and that's using one of your other strategies. But the thing is, when you use your other strategies, you really are solving an equation even if you don't set it up like one. Okay? So there's multiple ways to do that, but if they're asking for an equation or expression, you have to follow those. Okay? So at this point, you are going to start working on your homework. So check the board for your homework. You guys may work together, but I want you to be using these strategies. Yo! I hope you were paying attention, 8th period, because period 2 is getting a little out of hand. We are going, don't get more out of hand, please, and thank you. This is now, you're movie stars, and they're knowing that you've done this. How does it feel? How does it feel? So, stop. So, homework tonight is on the backboard. You guys may work together, but use your notes and use those strategies as you go through and practice. I will see you tomorrow.